Alright, let's talk about something that seems simple at first, but can completely change how you play. The max hand size in Slay the Spire 2. In this game, you can hold up to 10 cards in your hand at once. Sounds generous, right? But depending on your deck, hitting that 10 card limit can either feel amazing or absolutely terrible. Sometimes you're drawing exactly what you need and setting up huge combo turns. Other times, you're burning key cards because your hand is full and the game just says nope. Managing that space becomes a strategy all on its own. What makes this even more interesting is how Slay the Spire 2 gives you clever ways to actually play around that limit. Certain card interactions, discard mechanics, and hand-based effects can turn a full hand problem into a massive advantage. But it's not always obvious, even if you played the original game for hundreds of hours. So in this video, we're breaking down how max hand size really works, when filling your hand is powerful, when it's dangerous, and how to use it to dominate your combat encounters instead of sabotaging yourself. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. In Slay the Spire 2, your maximum hand size is 10 cards, and that limit can seriously shape how you plan each turn. Once you hit 10, that is it. Any extra cards you would draw simply do not come into your hand, so managing space becomes part of the strategy. Now here is where things get interesting. The retain effect makes a big comeback. Normally, when you end your turn, your entire hand gets discarded, but if a card has retain, it stays with you for the next turn. That means you can hold on to powerful attacks, key defensive tools, or combo pieces and set up a much bigger play instead of hoping to draw them again. It adds a layer of planning that rewards patience and smart timing. As for your deck size, there does not seem to be a strict upper limit on how many cards you can have overall. However, bigger is not always better. Many players find that around 20 cards is the sweet spot for consistency, though some builds prefer going leaner while others stack up more cards for specific synergies. The important thing to remember is that even if your deck keeps growing, your hand will always cap at 10. So every card you add changes the odds of what you actually see each turn. In Slay the Spire 2, mastering that 10 card limit is just as important as building a strong deck in the first place. If you are wondering how to retain cards in Slay the Spire 2, the most consistent way to do it is through specific cards that directly grant the retain effect. Unlike some universal mechanics, retain is very character dependent. That means your ability to hold cards between turns will often come down to who you are playing and what tools are available in their pool. Let us start with Regent. Regent has access to Convergence, which is a very strong setup card. It gives you 1 energy and 1 star on the next turn, and more importantly, it lets you retain your entire hand for the current turn. That is huge. Instead of losing everything at the end of your turn, you can bank your resources and unleash a carefully prepared combo on the following turn. It rewards planning and makes high-value hands even more explosive. Necrobinder approaches retain in a more targeted way with Snap. When you play Snap, Osti deals 7 damage and you add retain to a card in your hand. This is flexible and tactical. You can choose exactly which card you want to preserve, whether it is a scaling tool, a defensive option, or a combo piece. It is not flashy, but it is extremely practical in tight situations. The Silent arguably has the most natural synergy with retain. Well-laid plans allows you to retain up to 1 card at the end of each turn, giving you steady control over your hand flow. On top of that, Phantom Blades gives Shivs retain, and the first Shiv you play deals 9 additional damage. This turns what is normally a disposable attack into a resource you can stockpile and unleash at the perfect moment. Now, if you are playing Defect or Ironclad, things get trickier. Neither of them has native cards that grant retain directly. In those cases, your best option is to rely on potions that allow you to hold on to cards. You can also look for colorless options like Salvo and Equilibrium at the Merchant, which can provide ways to preserve cards between turns. It is not as consistent as character-specific tools, but if you build around it, you can still make retain strategies work. Drawing more cards each turn in Slay the Spire 2 is one of the strongest ways to increase your overall power. The more you draw, the more likely you are to find the exact combo pieces you need, and that means you are squeezing maximum value out of every single point of energy. Some builds scale directly with card draw as well. For example, the Silence Murder and Discard strategies or Necrobinder's Death. March and soul-focused decks become stronger the more cards you cycle through in a single turn. In those cases, drawing is not just about consistency, it is part of your win condition. That said, drawing more cards is not always a pure upgrade. If you do not have enough energy to actually play what you draw, you can clog your hand and waste potential. Even worse, you might end up pulling harmful status cards like Burn or Beckon at the worst possible moment. Filling your hand with cards you cannot use or that actively hurt you can completely derail a carefully planned turn, so card draw needs to be balanced with energy generation and deck control. Retaining cards, on the other hand, is all about patience and setup. Instead of hoping to redraw a key piece, you deliberately hold it for the perfect moment. This becomes extremely important in specialized decks or during boss fights where timing is everything. Retained effects shine when used on expensive, high-impact cards that require preparation, such as Regent's Stardust or Ironclad's Demon Form. Holding those cards until you have enough energy and support can turn an average turn into a game-changing one. If you want better awareness of how close you are to your maximum hand size, there is a helpful option in the General Settings menu that shows your current hand card count. Keeping an eye on that number makes it much easier to plan your draws, avoid overcapping at 10 cards, and make smarter decisions about when to draw more and when to retain instead. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.